Welcome back to another video.
Isn't your identity sign up at
So,
LifeLock.com.
this is where we left off.
In the impact segment tonight, the GOP candidates out on the campaign trail trying to make a dent in
We are looking for a house, and we're also looking for one more sheep.
See, unlike others, I don't need months or years to mull this over. I don't need to appoint a cabinet or consult a committee. Anybody who doesn't know today that the Iran deal is a bad deal is not ready to be commander-in-chief. I am ready to be commander-in-chief on day one.
They're also attacking Trump's policy proposals. With us now with more from Washington, D.C., Carl Cameron, Fox News chief political correspondent. Carl, how's the GOP feel dealing with Trump's dominance in the polls?
A lot of them are frustrated. A lot of them are trying to stay away from him. In the case of Ted Cruz, trying to embrace him. Chris Christie says he's a friend, but he doesn't necessarily agree with him. Jeb Bush today, in his event in Norfolk near the naval station, talking about vets, said it really isn't helpful to be calling somebody stupid or idiots. Said that it doesn't offer anything relevant to any of the nation's problems and is counterproductive, and that was aimed squarely at Mr. Trump. Scott Walker today said he doesn't share the view that all the American leaders are corrupt and incompetent losers. Walker did also slam Bush. You know, that line a minute ago about having to consult cabinet leaders and others before deciding if the Iran nuke deal is a good or a bad one was aimed really at Jeb, who actually said that you might want to consider talking to your cabinet before just sort of an abject objection to it. And that was during the process where the details of the deal were just being resolved. So they're hitting back and forth. It's a question of, do you take on somebody like that? And obviously, Jeb Bush has been trying to do that. And Trump had a great week.
You're right. So these candidates have to figure out, do they take on Trump and this, this big ship that's moving along, that's steaming along, or do you develop your own policy and put those out there? Now, Scott Walker wanted to hit on some foreign policy.
Sure.
What's the right answer? I mean, if I'm a viewer and I'm watching, I know what Trump has, and we know that. I want to hear some specifics from Chris Christie, from Scott Walker, from Rand Paul.
Well, and so do people want to hear specifics from Mr. Trump. The reality is, Trump continues to have huge crowds. He was out in Dubuque earlier this week. I was out there. 4,000 people. He had a great turnout. Lots of people from Wisconsin, which is a threat to the governor of Wisconsin, Dubuque being right on the border there. And Trump hit it out of the park repeatedly. And one of the things that's clear is that Jeb has decided that he's got to go after Mr. Trump. That was the same day that the whole Jorge Ramos flare-up with Trump took place. But 2 days later, the Quinnipiac poll comes out and shows that Trump has got a bigger lead than anybody else has ever had in the entire year. He's got organizers on the ground in Iowa. The people in his crowds in Iowa, the first caucus state, and in New Hampshire, increasingly are the real early primary voters. Now, it is still way too early to worry about polls and stuff like that in those early states. Folks don't make up their minds until the last week. But the fact that Trump's getting the activists in these early states is a very, very scary sign for people like Jeb Bush, John Kasich, and others who are looking at the early states first. Trump is able to go into Alabama and get 20,000, and in Iowa and New Hampshire he can get 5,000 or 6,000. That's very, very rare.
But it's not, it may be too early for worrying about where the votes are. But it's not too early to worry about the money. Now, the big donors, what do they want to see their guy? The Rubio donors, the Jeb Bush donors, the Chris Christie donors. What do they want to see their guys do? Or, in the case of Carly Fiorina, their gal, do? They want to see them take on Trump or develop their own campaign?
Well, there's a huge gamble in that. Developing one's own campaign in the shadow of Trump means you can just disappear into relative obscurity. There's another debate coming up in 3 weeks. 3 weeks from yesterday, as a matter of fact. It may be the last time it's a two-tiered debate, but you see the rest of the debates maybe being weak.